Good afternoon. Happy Sunday. Although it's not too terribly sunny outside on Sunday right now, at least not here. We have a marine layer in, and there we go. Things are crackling. So, good afternoon. It's noon straight up according to my clock and my phone and all these wonderful gadgets that tell me where I'm supposed to be and what time it is supposed to be, and so we're here. It's Sunday at noon, and I'm with you, and that always makes me happy. It's a good place to be. Um, happy whoever is here. Donna is here, I'm told, and Stevie is here. None of those things are showing up on my side thing. So, but my techie person is telling me that. So we're good, and I'm happy you're here.
Stevie is here.
Stevie is here. There he is. I see that. She sees things I don't see. I
That's right.
don't understand what that's all about. But that's okay. Happy you're here. Welcome, Stevie. Good afternoon to you. Happy Sunday. Ah, boy. What's this week going to be like, do you think?
Diane is here.
Hmm? What do you think this week is going to be like? See, I have a theory that this week is going to be pretty much what we expect it to be and believe that it's going to be. So here's my thinking, metaphysically speaking, of course, that if we want it to be a good week, we have to start making it a good week now. That the week that's coming up is going to be a reflection of exactly what we expect and think into it. So, what are you thinking? What are you claiming for this coming week? What are you designing in your mind for this coming week? Greetings, Susan. Glad you're here. Happy Sunday. Rosa Maria sends flowers. You are such a sweetheart. Thank you. Thank you. The gang is gathering. I think that's a good thing. I think that with our combined design for this coming week, we could change the world. We can certainly change our world, the world that we're living in, the world that we move through, the world that we are very much a part of. And sometimes that world needs a little adjustment, don't you think? Sometimes that world needs a little tweaking to get it to shape up and act right. The headlines have been kind of interesting this week, haven't they? You know, there was a time in my life when I first got into metaphysics that I wouldn't watch the news. I wouldn't watch scary movies. I wouldn't watch movies with violence, and I wouldn't watch the news, and I didn't read the newspapers. That didn't last too long because it drove me crazy, not knowing what was going on. But my thought was to keep all that negativity and violence and destruction out of my consciousness. And that isn't an altogether bad way of thinking. However, it's out there. And sometimes I think it pays for us to be aware of what is out there so that we can work on our thinking so that it supports what we want to see out there, how the way we want the world to be. So, as I said, that didn't last too long. And I definitely watch the evening news every night, every night, and try to stay abreast of what's going on. There's a lot going on. And the headlines certainly this week have been interesting. Interesting. Um, COVID numbers are going up pretty much everywhere. And especially in those places where, oh, around Memorial Day, everybody jumped into the ocean together or went to bars or partied because it was a holiday weekend and what the heck. I listened to one newscast yesterday where a young girl said, it was one night. It had been a hard week. What could it hurt? And she came home with COVID and then gave it to her roommate. We've got to keep our brains engaged. We've got to keep thinking. It does not pay to be ostriches, to sink our heads into the sand and go, la, 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 I don't want to hear it. Not going to apply to me. Why isn't it going to apply to you? You're on the planet. Things apply to you. I cheered actually this week when I heard that Europe is banning Americans' travel for a while. Now I know that's going to screw up some people's plans, and I know that it's probably going to mess with some people's work stuff. I understand that, and I'm sorry for that. But I also think they're being smart, and I've got to cheer on people who are doing smart things because metaphysics is really about using your brain. It is about not hiding your head in the sand. It is about being in the world while recognizing that you're not necessarily of it. It is recognizing that you are a divine being, an expression of the one, and that you have power, that you have presence, that you have the ability to change things. And if you have the ability to change things, you need not be a victim. Don't you think? So that's kind of what I want to talk to you about today. All of that. Hi, Betty. Glad you're here. Nancy's here. Hello, darling.
Peggy's here.
Peggy's here. Okay. And Rosa Maria, of course,
And
is here with her
Diane's
flowers.
here.
Oh, see, you have this whole list I don't have. She has this, and I can't seem to get it. My list seems to run behind everything else. No need to apologize, Peggy. I'm just getting warmed up now.
Betty Johnson is here.
Yes, I said hi to Betty.
Oh, did you?
I did.
All right.
I did. I'll say hi again. Hi, Betty.
Okay.
I love your little gal with the earphones on. She's really cute. Okay, then, why don't I just sort of jump into what it is I want to talk to you about today? And then maybe at the end we can talk some more. I'd like that. I'd like that. So be thinking about what questions you have as I go along. Make note of them, and we will try to get to them. Okay? What I want to talk about today is thinking. See, the thing about metaphysics is that it teaches you to think. It reminds you how important it is to think. That's what drew me to it in the first place nearly 40 years ago. I was not asked to leave my brain at the door and accept something that didn't make a lot of sense to me, or accept it just because someone said it was so. But instead, I was encouraged to bring my brain, my mind, with me into Sunday morning and to keep thinking. I liked that. I liked it a lot. Liking that got me to be a practitioner, a prayer counselor, and then a minister, and ultimately it got me to teaching that because I really do believe that faith and thinking go together quite well and are meant to share space in our minds and our hearts. However, however, in the intervening years, I have learned that two things can happen when I bring my mind to church or when I try to bring my mind to truth. Two things. that no one warned me about. So allow me to warn you. The first is that I can overcomplicate and overthink what I've learned and how to apply it to my life. I can spend so much time thinking about it that I don't necessarily do anything about it. Oh, I'm probably pretty good at telling other people what to think about it. But what am I doing? The second thing is that I can get what I call thinker's block and experience what I can only call brain freeze. Total lack of remembrance of what I know. Neither one of which is even the least little bit productive. Since I know that these experiences are likely not unique to me, I'd like to address both of those conditions this morning and perhaps offer some solutions that I have found may address the issues and thereby clear our minds so that in fact we may be transformed by the renewing of them. Stay with me. I found this piece, and with a little rewriting, I think it nails the idea. It reads like this. It started out innocently enough. I began to overthink at parties now and then. To loosen up, I guess, to figure out what was going on. Inevitably, though, one thought led to another, and soon I was much more than just a social thinker. Gradually, I began to overthink alone. To figure it out, I told myself, though deep inside I knew that that was not necessarily true. Overthinking became more and more important to me. After a while, I was overthinking all the time. I began overthinking at work, too. I knew that overthinking and employment don't mix, but I couldn't help myself. At lunchtime, I would sneak off and read Charles Fillmore and Ernest Holmes. And then I would return to the office noticeably confused and asking things like, what is it exactly that we're doing here? Well, I soon had a reputation as a heavy overthinker. One day the boss called me into his office. I like you, he said, and it hurts me to say this, but your overthinking has become a real problem. If you don't stop that kind of thinking on the job, I'm going to have to let you go. Which gave me a lot to think about. I went home early after my conversation with the boss. Honey, I confessed, I've been thinking. I know you've been thinking, she said, and I want a divorce. But honey, I said, surely it's not that serious. It is serious, she said, her lower lip a quiver. You think as much of it as a college professor, and college professors don't make any money. If you don't stop overthinking, we're sure to wind up in the poorhouse. That's a faulty syllogism, I said impatiently, as she began to cry. I'd had enough. I need to think, I snarled as I stomped out of the house and headed straight for the library. I needed to get to Google. I almost hit a pedestrian as I frankly roared into the parking lot. I ran up to the glass doors, but to my horror, they didn't open. I sank to the ground, cursing the uncaring glass entrance. And just then a poster caught my eye. It read, "Friend, is overthinking ruining your life? Are you spending so much time asking why that you never get around to using what you know?" You probably recognize that line. It comes from the Overthinkers Anonymous poster. which is why I am what I am today, a recovering overthinker. I never miss a TA meeting. At each meeting, we watch a television show. Last week, it was the Gong Show. I'm learning to think in more simple terms, to take what I learn at face value and not try to complicate it by turning a simple truth into a philosopher's nightmare. I simply do what I know to do, and I don't second guess the universe. I figure it knows how to do what it does, and I'm learning to trust that. So there you have it. That's the secret, you know. Real faith is having trust in the process, in allowing the intelligence that put the universe together to know how to put your life together without you having to tell it how to do it. It is in understanding that your job is to think in positive, constructive ways that support your life and not overthink how life is going to make those things happen. Your job is the what. Life's job is the how. Let go. Let God. Got it? Good. Good. Okay, now having handled the problem of overthinking, the second problem I've encountered is thinker's block. A problem which seems to happen to me most often when I'm under pressure. When I know I should know what to do about a situation or what to think, but I'm clearly not doing it. So I did some research and found this article from Seth Godin's blog. But again, I've made a few minor changes since he was addressing writer's block and I want to talk about thinker's block. But I don't think he'd mind. And I believe the solutions he suggests absolutely apply under nearly all conditions. So, Seth writes, with a little help from me. No one ever gets talker's block. No one wakes up in the morning, discovers he has nothing to say, and sits quietly for days or weeks until the muse hits, until the moment is right, until all the craziness in his life has died down. Why then is thinker's block endemic? The reason we don't get talker's block is that we're in the habit of talking without a lot of concern for whether or not our inane blather will come back to haunt us. Talk is cheap. Talk is ephemeral. Talk can be easily denied. We talk poorly, and then eventually, or sometimes, we talk smart. We get better at talking precisely because we talk. We see what works and what doesn't, and if we're insightful, we do more of what works. How could one possibly get talker's block after all that practice? So here's the point. Thinker's block is much like talker's block, which doesn't even exist. And it's not hard to cure. We just have to start by thinking, even if we're thinking poorly. And then we have to continue to think, poorly if necessary, in public, until we can think better. I believe he writes that everyone should think in public. Get a blog, he says, or use Squiddo or Tumblr or a micro-blogging site. Use an alias if you want. Turn off comments. You don't need more criticism. You need more thinking. Do it every day, every single day. Clear, crisp, honest thinking. thinking about what you see in the world, what you want to see in the world, what you want to teach in the world. If you know you have to think every single day, you will improve your thinking. If you're concerned with quality, of course, then not thinking is not a problem. Brain freeze would be your goal because zero thinking is perfect because it is without any defects. But if you want to think, then the second best thing to zero is something better than bad. So if you know you have to think tomorrow, your brain will start working on something better than bad. And then you'll inevitably redefine bad. And tomorrow will be better than that. And on and on. Think like you talk, writes Seth, often. So here's the point. The answers are there. The solutions are there. You just have to work them out. We are simply too often looking in the wrong places for them, or too addled by the appearances to know that we, in fact, really do know. We are surrounded by, immersed in, an infinite, impersonal, neutral, and ever present thinking stuff from which all things come, and which in every instance is present everywhere, all the time. Just as it creates life with its thought, so do we. I just can't say this often enough. We draw from life, we experience in life the result of our thinking. Life becomes for us what we think into it. To learn how to think is to take charge of our lives. And to learn how to think is to practice thinking by thinking rightly. Not in fear and confusion, but in faith. By thinking in alignment with a higher truth. By realizing that what we are doing can create a higher reality. It's not about willing something that is not available or real into being. It isn't about that at all. And it's not about forcing a thought to stay in place by sheer willpower. That doesn't work. In fact, that really does suggest to your subconscious and to the universe that you don't think it's going to work unless you hold it in place. Get over yourself. It's not about manifesting something that is not meant to be yours, or convincing God against its will that something should be that isn't. It's about recognizing that whatever is going on, there is no need to panic, because there is always a higher truth and a higher power present than may be apparent in the moment, and we can use it. In fact, we're using it all the time. The trouble is, all too often, we're concentrating on the negative, and so we are creating the negative. See, no matter what may be going on in your life, within you, right now, in this very moment, there is a creative power. And around you, there is a creative power. One is universal, the other is personal. But in reality, there's only one power. Your life, your mind, is an individualization of the one. And we use God's mind every time we use our mind. It's not that one thought or one kind of thought is creative and another is not. All thought is creative. All thought, constructive or destructive, easy for me to say, life-enhancing or life-defeating, all thought is creative. thought itself creates a mold. Think jello mold, into which an idea is poured. Doesn't matter what the idea is, good idea, bad idea, destructive, constructive, life affirming, not life affirming. The idea is poured, and creative power is then set in motion to solidify that idea and make it real in the world. For thousands of years, great minds have tried to tell us, and for thousands of years, most people have ignored the lessons. We can heal our bodies. We can change our environment. We can control the conditions in our lives through the power of our thought. And we can do this because there is a spiritual law which is higher and simpler than any material or physical law, and it responds to our thinking. There is an immutable spiritual law that surrounds us wherever we are. An immediate spiritual life that lives within us always. And a spiritual truth that we ignore to our peril. There is that power, call it whatever you will, that receives the direct impress of our thought and acts upon it. Our thought creates the mold, it pours in the stuff solidifies, and it shows up in our lives. That's how it works. We can't stop it. We really can't. It's happening all the time, whether we're aware of it or not. But we can direct it. Why would you not? Your thoughts determine what you experience. Your vast array of thoughts, your sum total of your thinking and knowing, what we know, what we think we know, and that which we are not even actively thinking about, but which is demonstrated in our attitudes and ideas, our hopes and our fears, our faith and our faithlessness. All of that is creative. We've got to think about what we're thinking about. We've got to become really seriously conscious of what we are claiming for ourselves. We've got to monitor not just what comes out of our mouths, like good trained metaphysicians who always say the right thing, but more importantly, what goes into and out of our mind. Know your own mind. My favorite Ernest Holmes quote, out of a whole bunch of bookloads, is train yourself to think what you wish to think. Train yourself to think what you wish to think, to be what you wish to be, to feel what you wish to feel, and place no limit on principle. Train yourself. Know that your thought has unlimited power, and it has always had power. If you must look back, then look back and see what that power has created. Has it created what you want in your life? Has it created the life of your dreams? If not, look to where you may be sabotaging that by not having trained your mind to think what you wish to think. Ernest Holmes, I think, wrote, "You are the announcer of your life. The dreamer, the designer, the architect, the contractor, and the builder. No subcontractor works without your permission. If you find yourself with doubts, go back to the beginning. Ask yourself, who am I? What am I? What is my life? Take your thoughts back to your foundation and keep going back until you are so clear that there is no denying the truth. Know that you are one with Spirit, one with creation itself. You are the individualized power of God at the center of your own life. That's right thinking. That is the thinking that changes everything, if you wanted to. Take a minute now and think about what you are thinking about. If you believe this is hard, that you can't figure it out, that you can't do it, that's overthinking a simple idea. Let it go. Trust it. Faith is, in fact, the evidence of things not seen or necessarily yet figured out. If you think, if you believe that all things are possible, then it will be for you. It has to be. Thinking makes it so. Close your eyes for a minute. Feel the power. It is all around and about you. And it is deeply, deeply within you. It is really all that you are. With a cute little you outfit on. Feel it. Now say to yourself, I am the announcer of my life. I am the dreamer. I am the designer. I am the architect. I am the contractor. I am the builder of my life. I have the power. I am one with creation. Got it. Now visualize building your ideal life. See the results. See them just as clearly as you can. You can come back to this and fill in the blanks, but at the very minimum, see yourself happy. See yourself healthy. See yourself surrounded by the life that you imagine. Breathe it in, feel it, trust it. Let it happen. Now I'd like you to claim that vision. Own it. Practice seeing it, practice saying it, even if the vision's not yet completely apparent. Believe in it. That will break through the thinker's block. And know that if there is something that you need to do to make that real, that will be revealed to you. And everything that you need to make that real will be supplied to you. You don't need to figure out how. That's overthinking. Let go of that. Let God do that. Let life, give life the opportunity to respond to your claim, to your prayer, to your longing. Give it the opportunity to do that. When we shut down and say it's impossible, it's too hard, I can't do this, then life goes, oh well. Gee, and I had it right here for you. Begin where you are. Let go of having to do it just right and just do it. Understand that it is the force of creation, the absolute, with which you are working. And in that, with that, all things truly are possible. Trust it. Don't block it. Don't overthink it. Just let it be. And so it is. So, well, we undo ourselves sometimes, don't we? Don't we? We overthink it. Raise your hand, because nobody will see you. Anyway, raise your hand if you're an overthinker. Those people are so busy picking things apart, trying to be sure they understand how it works, that they don't get around to using it. Okay, raise the other hand if you occasionally get thinker's block. Ooh, you can see me, huh? Sure we do. You know, there are times for all of us when we know what we know, but we can't get to it. It's right there. There's a way I should be thinking. There's a way, something I should be saying. There's something I should be doing, but I don't know what it is. And we know that we do know. We just don't know in the moment. In both cases, the answer is get yourself out of the way, let go, and let God. Surrender. Ernest Holmes said, there's a power in the universe greater than you are, and you can use it. Why would you not? Oh, we get so hung up in doing it by ourselves, don't we? So hung up. Yeah, no, I know how to do this. That we then don't do it. So do it. Turn it over. Surrender. Oh. Indeed, Susan, thoughts and words are like living creatures. They really are. They're so creative. Think of them as elves and fairies, if you will. You know, they go out there. We send them out there. And they do stuff. They do stuff. And just because we don't, you know, if you opened your mouth and an elf popped out and set about doing something in your life, you'd react to it, wouldn't you? One way or another? I would. No, come here, little fella. Let's not do it that way. Let's do it this way. And if the elf's smart, he'd turn around and say, if you were so smart, you'd do it yourself. I'm here. Let me do it. Your words are angels or hobgoblins, depending upon what the words are. Let them be angels. Let them be builders of your universe, not destroyers. And your thoughts, of course, are equally, if not more, potent than just your words. Your words can be filtered. See, we do that sometimes. Metaphysicians are notoriously good at that, at saying what they know they're supposed to be saying, especially if somebody else is listening. Especially if somebody else is listening. Try being a minister. People look around to see if I'm around before they talk. But see, it's what's going on up here. It's what's inside, because this is where the creation is happening. It's not out there. It's right here. You want a creative, wonderful, love-filled, successful, joyous, healthy life? Think. Think. And practice thinking. I love Seth Godin's idea. If you want to get good at it, practice doing it. Practice thinking. And in this case, particularly thinking about what you're thinking about. Particularly that. What's going through my mind? Good test. If you're feeling really good, you're probably thinking really good. Really. I mean that. If you're in a good mood and you're feeling light and happy and you kind of want to get to life, you're probably thinking fine that day. You don't need to analyze yourself to death. But if you're in the dumps, if you're depressed, if you're worried, especially if you're worried, worry is so non-productive. Really. If you find yourself worrying and you find yourself feeling negative, think about what you're thinking about. What's on your mind? And what do you need to be thinking about instead? How do you need to turn that so that it is productive, constructive, life-affirming? Think about what you're thinking about. And your body will tell you. It's just an amazing thing, I think, that your life will tell you if you look out there at life. But sometimes we look out there at life and then brain freeze sticks in. How can I fix this? Look, what am I going to do? But your body, your mood, your sensations, your attitude will tell you when you are thinking amiss. So stop when you feel that and say to yourself, you have to write yourself a little script. It's not an altogether bad idea. Write yourself a little script. Here's a card. I have cards laying all over the place. Create a card that says when you're in a bad mood, when you're depressed, when you're getting worried, pick up this card. What does it say? It says, God is all there is. To God, all things are possible. What in the heck could I be worried about? Or simply a card that says, think about what you're thinking about. Is that what you want to create? There's the question. Is that what you want to create? There's a lot going on out there in the world these days. A whole lot going on out there in the world these days. And if you succumb to it, you're not going to feel good. You're going to be sad, you're going to be depressed, you're going to be worried. None of which is productive. Do what you know to do. Do what you know to do. Don't be foolish. I'm not saying go out there and say, God is where I am right now and I can't catch this thing. That's just silly. Your physical body can catch it. Can. So don't let it. Stay where you're safe. Keep a mask on. Do what you need to do to protect yourself. That's yours to do. See, that goes back to my theory of there are 3 kinds of things in this world that need to be done. One is for other people to do. It's their job. You might be able to help them, you might be able to support them, you might be able to do all kinds of things, but it's their job. Let them do it. And there are those things which are God's to do. I don't want to be in charge of sunrises and sunsets and gravity and all that stuff. So, God, you just handle that, please. And God does. And then there are those things that are yours to do. Putting a mask on and protecting yourself against a pandemic is yours to do. Do it. Do it. That then frees you up to use the time that you could have spent in the hospital to do something good in the world. Got it. Got it. See, you could be doing good stuff, and you could be not jeopardizing the health of the first responders and the health workers. You could be doing something good with your life instead. So put the mask on. No, they're not comfortable. But you know, we can get used to almost anything. And back to practice. Seth Godin, I'm telling you, the man's a genius. Practice it. Put it on. Wear it around a little bit. Practice wearing it at home for a little bit. You'll get used to it. We get used to everything. I noticed on the news, last night it particularly hit me, that when they really started putting masks on everybody, especially the reporters at large out there in the field, at first, some of them wore them and some of them didn't. But they all took them off to talk. Last night, several of them left them on. Were they not quite as clear? Yeah, they were not quite as clear. They're talking through a mask. But you could understand them. You could hear every word they had to say. There was no misinterpreting what was going on. And they were staying safe. They were doing what it was theirs to do. You do what's yours to do. And it will, in fact, make the whole world a better place and a safer place. And isn't that what we want? For ourselves and our children and our grandparents and a whole bunch of them. A whole bunch of them out there, depending upon us to do it right. Ah, the wits are here. Hello, the wits. I like that, Paul. Less of me, more of God. Except we have to do what's ours to do. It's not fair to dump the whole thing on God. You know, to walk out there without a mask, without protection, without social distancing, and say, God's going to protect me, is frankly turning something over to God that God doesn't need to have to handle. It's yours to do. Right? Right. So do it. Do it. Do what is yours to do. If I was God, I would get ticked off when people kept trying to get me to do things they should be doing for themselves. I would just be annoyed at people who were incapable of doing things for themselves or just didn't want to or thought that I should do it. Come on. That's the old lottery ticket joke about, give me a break, buy a ticket. Give me a break. Put your mask on. Practice social distancing. And don't go out if you don't have to. I have been out of the house probably 3, maybe 4 times total since sometime in February. Now, granted, we have a lovely patio area and a backyard that I can go sit in and talk to the birds and the squirrels and talk to the birds, cuss at the squirrels, whatever it is I'm doing out there. It's lovely. I love my home. I love to be in it. And I don't have to go out to go to work. I stay in to do my work. But this is what is ours to do right now. To protect others, to love one another. To practice being the presence of God by practicing love and loving actions. Got it? So, I am thinking that my technical person is about to tell me that it's time to pray. So we will. We shall. See, that is ours to do. That is ours to do. And let us, in our prayers, be thankful for God doing what is God's to do. And in our prayers, tell God about the world we imagine and dream of and want to work toward. Shall we? So close your eyes if that is comfortable for you. If not, just soft focus. The point is to turn your attention within. And find God there. No social distancing needed. The presence and the power of creation itself is right there, where you are. You don't need to go out to find it. You don't even need to search. You have simply to notice that it is always there, always waiting, always available, always responding. And so let us think about what we are thinking about. Let us think about a world of understanding. A world lacking in isms. A world filled with love and mutual respect. And beauty. And the wonder that comes of us truly loving one another. Let us each envision that world, hold it in our hearts and minds, and come from that place with every thought, with every word, with every action. Let us continue to think about what we are thinking about until our thoughts are so centered in God that there is no place else for them to go but to creation and to beauty and to wonder and to love. Let us know that from this place we can rebuild this world and make it the paradise it was always intended to be. We start with our own lives by telling ourselves that this is possible, that this is real. That all things are possible with God, and we are most certainly with God. What a joy to be the builders, the architects, the contractors of our new world, one life at a time. We begin with our own. And in knowing the truth, in feeling the truth, in living in the truth, we begin the process of building the world in the image and likeness of paradise. I am so very grateful for those who are gathered here, whose minds and hearts are open and whose creative abilities are unlimited, for the good that each of us will do in the world today, tomorrow, throughout this next week, throughout our lives. The world is a better place because we have come together here this morning. And that shall continue to be so. And with full hearts, we let it be. And so it is. Paul, I'm looking at your reply, sweetheart, and it's not terribly clear. Did your keyboard jam? Of course, if your keyboard jammed, you probably can't tell us that. We just want to make sure you're all right. Lucy, are you there with Paul? We just want to make sure you're okay. Don't make me call you, because I will.
If you need help, send a prayer.
And we will definitely pray that all is well and that you've just got a stuck keyboard. How's that? I don't want to wish ill on your keyboard, but better that than on you. So let me just say a quick little prayer and know that all is well for our friends, that everything is coming together perfectly, and that God is very, very present, right smack in the middle of it all. All is well in Chicago. All is well with the Wits. We love you. Love all of you, and I see that our time has pretty much come to an end. I'm going to miss you. I like being with you. So, Wednesday night at 7, back here. Next Sunday, right here, same place, same time, 12 noon, straight up. And keep an eye on this space for announcements about any other talks or places or things of that sort. I love you. It has been a wonderful time together. Happy, happy Sunday. And be blessed. Be well. Go with God. You can go no other way.